we're gonna get kind of back to our roots for our next part of this segment here. When the show first started, we got into a discussion about religion, not so much just the news segments of it, but we actually were discussing what was some aspects of religion. Now, one thing I'd like to do here is we're going to start off with a topic we talked about, but you, the viewer, we want to get you involved. You want something us to discuss in this segment? Then please. And I'll post this up on YouTube. Put it in the comments section below, or drop me a letter or an email. Letter? who writes letters anymore? Drop me an email at packardpokes@gmail.com, and we will discuss your topic. For tonight's topic, we're going to discuss. I had the guy's name in my head a second ago. Moses. We were talking about so much about the Mormons. I was like, what's the word?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Yes, we're going to talk about Tom Cruise. No, we're not talking about Tom Cruise. We're going to talk about Moses and the Exodus from Egypt. And basically, this interesting part of this part of the show is that respondents, we're going to have about 2 minutes to talk about this. I'm going to start it off, and then we're going to take it from there. The story of Moses, he's going to try to get his people out of Egypt, and many of you, especially the atheists in the community, have know this story here. Now, the thing is, when Moses was trying to get out of Egypt, he kept going to Pharaoh. Don't give his name, because they can't name the Pharaoh in this story. I think, in my personal opinion, is the whole story is made up, and Moses did not exist because they claim that they don't know who Pharaoh was, mainly because they won't give the name. I've asked people that I know, Christians and so forth. They say, well, what was the Pharaoh's name? They say, well, the common excuse is, well, Pharaoh, the Egyptians didn't keep very good records, and they lost the name, which is totally a lie, because they have kept records goes back quite a ways. So if you think that's an excuse, try again. But anyway, Pharaoh tries to get his people out of Egypt, and he is trying to goes to the Pharaoh and says, "Hey, let my people go." And and God hardens the Pharaoh's heart. So God in this story is playing both sides of the field. He's saying, "Hey, Moses, you need to go and get your people out of here." And then he goes to the Pharaoh and says, "Hey, Pharaoh, don't let the people go." To me, he's not really just playing both sides of the field. He's being a dick. Who plays both sides like that? If your God wants to let you go and wants you to leave, would you not say, hey, he's going to say, "Hey, Pharaoh, the Moses guy here, I want his people to leave. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to and say, hey, I want you to fuck around with this guy and make him stay." What would be the point? Except for, bring more misery on yourself. Okay, and here's where we get going on this. Crystal, what is your take on this story?
Oh, goodness. First of all, let me say I do not speak for all Christians. I'm going to just speak for myself. And I can tell you that even though this is what we were taught, there's so many inconsistencies in this story that I believe it's confusing. And I believe that we've got every right to question it. I do believe the Bible, we know the Bible was written by many people, and it's been interpreted, and it's been reinterpreted and rewritten. I can understand where there would be doubt, and I have my own doubt about it. Who was Pharaoh? Some have said it was Ramses II. There's no clear answers, Packard, and I don't believe that I even myself could give you a clear answer as to how I feel about this and whether I believe it is fiction or not. I am not sure.
Interesting. You still have a minute. You want to go on?
Oh no, I think that's. I mean, I think that's about it,
Oh,
really.
okay, very good. Okay, Wayne, and your time
Yeah.
your time starts now.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't believe the story was completely made up because a lot of these stories are not just made up out of nothing. I mean, they are based on something.
Mm-hmm.
And early in the 19th century, the lost city of Akhenaten was uncovered.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first time anybody had ever seen it. They discovered remains of a pharaoh that had never been cataloged before. And after they you do all the work and you put the puzzle pieces back together, it turns out that it's Amenhotep the fourth,
Mm-hmm.
um, and who was one of these Aten followers, which was a early monotheistic cult in Egypt, and he basically built a city. And he was kind of trying to, I don't know, there were some issues with his father, Amenhotep the third. He changed his name to Akhenaten in honor of Aten. The city was called Akhenaten, but they erased it from history. They destroyed his city, but there was this early monotheistic cult that was basically removed from Egyptian history. This is about 1300 BC. So about that time was the rise of early Judaism. So it's possible that the Moses mythology goes back to this event, and it's sort of that it gets turned into another story. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. But certainly there's no evidence to support any of the details of the Moses story at all. That's true. In fact, the archaeological evidence contradicts it. Slaves did not build the pyramids. The pyramids were built by craftsmen. They were built by off-season farmers, who did the Nile floods and all the farming that goes on. And then in the season when they're not farming,
And
the
that's
farmers
time.
do something.
That's time. Good points, Wayne. One thing though, I would like to point out here. You said that because the places existed, that some of these stories might be true.
Well, no. There's a kernel of truth. The stories come from somewhere.
Right. Yeah. The stories come from somewhere,
like Scientology, where it's written from. It's just sort of made up from whole cloth.
Right.
These stories were people didn't write like that back then.
Right. Well,
they actually wrote based on.
The point I'm trying to get to is saying that if they were saying that Moses existed, the kernel of truth that you're talking about is like saying, for example, because New York exists, Spider-Man also exists.
No. That's not at all my point. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. That's just what I'm saying is that because they're saying that there are these kernels of truth, these cities that exist, and some of these cities are in the Bible, and so there's a lot of people say because these cities exist that these people may have existed. So that you're mixing, if you mix a fact with fiction, it's still fiction. Because
my point was that I think you might be able to trace the rise of Judaism all the way back to this Aten cult of the 18th dynasty, in that their story of their pharaoh being erased from history survived, but then it turned into this other story of Moses. But it wasn't a story of slaves.
Yeah. The
story we have is rooted in truth,
right?
But the truth is much different.
Yes. Like you said, that the slaves were not used to build the pyramids, and I think that I wouldn't say that's 100% evidence, but it's a definite strike against the story. All right. Well, if you would like to suggest a topic for this part of the show, please leave us a comment on here on the page below, and we will get to that next week.